Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
And we're crawling back out of the rabbit hole we've been in for the last 22 hours, thanks to Julie Gunlock and Heather Hunter a bit. Good morning, ladies. Thanks for joining us here on O'Connor and Company, along with our vast audience who certainly curious. Oh, really? What rabbit hole did you go down, Larry? Oh, no, I went down a rabbit hole because in passing, Julie says, oh, did you see the whole thing with Milo Yiannopoulos and Benny Johnson and Candace Owens?
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, oh, and then she sends me a couple of links, and there went the rest of my day. Thanks, ladies. Heather, can you get Milo on the show?
No.
Julie, that's where I draw the line. Coming up at 6:35, we'll speak with Ron Halber of the Jewish Community Relations Council. Yeah, let's have him on with Milo and Candace Owens. That'd be great. 7:05, Carrie Severino to talk about yesterday's arguments before the Supreme Court. A remarkable day. And then at 7:35, Kurt Schlichter's new book is out. It's a good one. It's the latest in the
we should ask all of these guests.
I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. We'll just
Can you imagine asking Carrie Severino and then Kurt Schlichter?
I know you wanted to talk about the arguments yesterday between the legislative and executive branch and Ketanji Brown Jackson, but can you believe what Milo said? And they're all, that's the thing, we're all watching this go by. And it's like, what are we supposed to do with that? What are we supposed to do with that?
Carrie Severino would be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Kurt Schlichter is like, right. How long do we have? How many segments?
Oh, that's my next book. Yeah. Kurt, just in a nutshell, and we've had Milo on the show, haven't we? We had Milo on once, and it was at the Republican National Convention in 2016. It was kind of the height of Milo.
Before my day.
It was a remarkable conversation.
Wow.
Just the bottom line, Milo has decided that everybody is gay, and he's outing everybody, and which is hilarious to me. It's like,
is this your day? I think tomorrow is my day.
Oh, honey. Please. I think my first day with a public profile. Oh, who's that conservative writing about Broadway musicals at Breitbart?
Exactly.
He's married and has 4 kids. Sure he is. I'll never forget one time somebody on Twitter was attacking Andrew Breitbart and calling him gay. This is what actually ticks me off about Milo. I mean, there's a lot of things. It's incredibly sinful behavior, Milo, who claims to be a born-again Catholic.
Yeah.
But one of the things that annoys me about it, or is certainly amusing as an observation, is that there's sort of a built-in suggestion that if you're gay, that is in some way defamation, and I think it's remarkable that didn't Tom Cruise sue one of the tabloids over this?
I think so.
And at one point there was some judicial finding that said, well, this that's not defamatory. There's nothing wrong with being gay. Mm-hmm. So. There's no. How can you calculate damages? There's this an insidious nature within the judicial system about things like this.
People say they're going to sue him, but it's not his design. His design is to destroy.
Well, and he knows, first of all, people won't sue for various reasons.
Right.
And so anyway, people would, who didn't like Andrew Breitbart would say that he was gay. And then I would, this was in the early days of Twitter when no one understood what Andrew was doing with it. So and I'm working with Andrew, and I responded one time and I said, yes, he's gay. He's married and he has 4 kids. You're an idiot. And Andrew calls me and he goes, shut up, Stan. Why are you doing that? It's like some of the very rare times that I would see Andrew angry at me or anybody who worked with him was usually when you didn't understand what he was doing on Twitter, because he took Twitter very seriously.
Yeah,
understandably, and he was right. And he said, I want them to keep insulting me like that because it shows what bigots they are.
Yeah,
think about it. These are the liberals who decide they want to insult you by saying you're gay.
We see it here today. For instance, Riley Gaines, when they'll make some nasty comment about her. Or they'll say, well, you look trans, right?
Right,
and it's
exactly.
like, wait, what are you implying?
So
right?
what you're saying is...
So what you're saying is, ugly
I thought
women
trans
or
women
trans...
were the most beautiful women.
Right, exactly,
right?
yeah.
And now you're using it as an insult. Yes. Exactly. And so, anyway, Milo has decided that he's going to out everyone. And by the way, as typical with Milo, it's not, a targeted, skillful assassin's blade. It's, an atomic bomb.
Yeah, and by the way, part of the reason this is all is because Tucker recently platformed Milo. So Milo is yet again another one of these unsavory types that has been platformed by Tucker, and so where he's back in the news again. And I mean, he sort of disappeared for a long time, and now he's back, and with all the other,
Tucker's like, oh, so they're pissed at me for platforming Nick Fuentes. Jeez. How can I do
beat
next?
that? What can I do?
I know. You know how yesterday Glenn Beck had the AI version of George Washington?
Yes,
did you see that?
I saw that.
Next week, Tucker with an exclusive.
He made him muscular.
Built. George looked jacked,
hot.
Man. He was a stud. He was
and it appears his teeth were fully intact, and none of that.
Yeah, that's where it lost credibility with me. Yeah. And then Martha showed up looking. Martha's got an OnlyFans. I mean, she was looking hot.
I missed Martha. Was she hot?
I'm kidding. There was no.
Martha. Oh, okay.
So but now based on that trend, it's like next
and then
week,
Milo's like George Washington, clearly gay.
Tucker
Which,
Carlson
frankly, with that
exclusive interview with AI Hitler. It's going to be fantastic. Genghis Khan will join as a special guest. Yeah. So thank you for putting me down that rabbit hole.
Well.
And now I've got new material because Candace Owens went on Russell Brand's podcast. I called this the other day. It was about a year ago when I was like noticing that everybody's got a podcast.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's like I don't spend a lot of time criticizing other people who do kind of what we do because I think that's boring. But this has definitely been in the news. This is like a big deal within the conservative movement, and I know a lot of people are confused about it. Here's the thing. What we do here on WMAL, we are broadcasters. We are not influencers, okay? This is the difference. And oh gosh, that's the Trump campaign has done such a great job with influencers. And you're right. He did do a great job harnessing influencers. Please don't confuse what they do with what we do. There's a big difference. And when I made note of the fact that all of these influencers had podcasts and there's like this bizarre sort of Wild West information highway going on out there that everybody's making a lot of money with, by the way.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a drop in standards, and you can kind of say whatever you want, as we're discussing now. But I noticed another trend. Not only is everybody getting podcasts, but since everyone has a podcaster, then when you have somebody on as a guest, ultimately you're really just interviewing another podcaster. And so now they're all interviewing each other and making news by saying something extraordinary on someone else's platform. So, like, you're right, yeah, Tucker interviewed Nick Fuentes, Tucker interviewed Milo, Russell Brand interviews Candace. Candace is going to go on Turning Point USA's show. There's a big fight over that. Candace doing all her time talking about Charlie Kirk and Turning Point, another podcast. I was like, oh my God, it's like Andy Warhol's fever dream right now. Not only is everybody famous for 15 minutes, but they're getting famous by glomming on to each other's fame. And it's like, there's actual news going on. And that's the weird thing about all of this, is that they're all having fame and getting attention and engaged in all of their podcast adventures by just talking about each other. And it's this weird rabbit hole echo chamber. And it ends up being not very nice either. And I'm glad. So one of the reasons why we don't dwell in it is that we try to stay, I don't want to say above it, but removed from it. Let's just say we try to stay removed from it.
Yeah, we do. But it is, I'm glad we do cover it a little bit because I think it's on everyone's mind. People see it. Yep. They see bits and pieces and they're like, what to make of it? What is
You have to
going
know
on
about
here?
it. You have to know about it. You do. But, as Andrew Breitbart would say, if I can just finish this thought up with my late friend and mentor's memory in my head, he would hate this stuff. He hated this stuff more than anything else. And people would always demand, well, you have to comment. You have to take a stand. You have to come out because he would say, I'm bored with this because my enemy is the political left and the cultural left. And I know what they're trying to do to this country, and I want to focus on them. We have our problems. We have our squabbles. But part of that is just much of that is distracting us from what the real problem is, and I want to keep focusing on that. And so that's what we're going to do.
Well said.
That said, what a fine time we all had yesterday exploring the latest of this story, and I feel I want my day back. That's the other reason why we don't dwell on it, because it's a real waste of time. You know, whoever is aligned with this person or that person, just wait a few months. It'll all switch. I promise.
That's right.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
A remarkable investigative journalist piece in the New York Times yesterday. Really impressive stuff. And timely, too. New York Times went on a deep dive investigation. How many people did they put on this? I'll have to try to count the bylines and the other names that contributed to the story. But let me just bottom line it for you. And thank God we have the New York Times to do this kind of work. They have the resources, they have the manpower, and here they are telling the stories that nobody else will tell. Apparently, there was enormous dysfunction and rabid politics going on inside the administration over the border crisis, and it is just so damning. Oh, by the way, just in case anybody's wondering, I'm talking about the Biden administration starting in August of 2020. No, that's right. Over 5 years ago, they're now suddenly getting to the story, Julie.
Yeah, you were called a Nazi. You were called all sorts of names
by the New York Times.
By the New York Times for noticing this, for noticing the absolute disaster on the southern border.
Yes.
You were called horrible names for questioning Kamala's command of, because she was the border czar, right? And yet 5 years later, they've noticed.
Yeah.
They've noticed.
A New York Times investigation reveals. The New York Times investigation.
Which, by the way, they'll probably win awards for.
Yes. They will win awards for this.
Right. The Federalist, Us, every other, incredible, alternative media source was reporting on this will get nothing.
In real time, yes.
Yes, in real time.
A New York Times investigation reveals how Biden's team received repeated warnings about border strains starting in August of 2020. But which, by the if in case you're doing the math, yes, that's correct. It's before the election.
Right.
Before the November election of 2020, Biden's advisors were getting warnings about how their policies would destroy the border. They knew before the election that their policy proclamations were going to be a disaster.
Right. They also knew about Hunter's laptop, right?
Yes.
I mean,
That's the New York Times expose coming up next week. So
right.
let's not get ahead of it.
You think about when they say there was no interference. It was a totally legal election. There was nothing wrong. When you think about all of these stories they could have reported on that the American public might have swayed their vote. Yeah. Sorry, that's a tangent. Keep going.
As starting in August of 2020, yet early decisions like pausing deportations and ending the Remain in Mexico policy led to record encounters over 2.2 million. That's understated. In fiscal 2022, advisors pushed for tougher steps amid surging crossings and backlogged asylum cases nearing 6 million by 2023. But internal debates, voter concerns, and COVID focus slowed action. Late measures like expanded legal pathways in a 2024 executive order cut encounters by 40%, though public frustration and city strains contributed to political fallout, aiding Trump's 2024 return. That's the New York Times yesterday, Julie, 5 years late.
So they didn't report on this, but you remember what reporting we did get, Larry? That the Border Patrol was whipping migrants, right?
Yes.
That's what we got, right? So we got nothing. We didn't get the actual story. And like the drownings. And remember, all the and that's what we got coverage of.
Children and
that's right. Okay. Using pictures that were from the Biden administration or from the Obama administration. Yes.
Oh, the irony, though, first of all, I have two observations about this. One hidden gem in there is about how they They didn't want to do anything because they were afraid it would affect voter turnout from the Hispanic community. And by the way, if you didn't notice, in 2024, Trump had a huge surge, and I think in many of the swing states, won the Hispanic vote.
Yes.
So it's those geniuses. It's actually a direct connection to how the Democrats handled the Somali fraud story in Minnesota, because they didn't want to do anything about it lest they affect their support amongst the Somali community. Every time they don't actually enforce the law, why did they let murderers and rapists out to walk the streets and give them parole instead of put them in jail in major cities like Washington, D.C.? Well, because they were afraid of the black vote. Everything is based on being afraid of losing support in one group or another. But let me just be clear. The reason that the New York Times came out with this article now, as we mock them for it, is because this is laying the predicate and the foundation for the Democrat nominee in 2028, because whoever gets the nomination, whoever wants to be president from the Democrats, one of the key questions they have to answer is, will you reverse Trump's border policies? Now the New York Times is giving them cover to somehow answer that question and recognize that Trump did something remarkable here. It's 5:23.
Coming up, nobody's ready for this. Are you ready for Jasmine Crockett for Senate? We'll discuss. We'll discuss. Keep it here. It's 5:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:37, and we are thrilled to be part of your morning routine here on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for checking us out. You'll be happy. We got a lot to talk about. Coming up at 6:35, Ron Hauber with the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington. 7:05, legal expert Carrie Severino will give us her impression of yesterday's remarkable arguments before the Supreme Court. Boy, that Ketanji Brown Jackson, she really just keeps reaffirming her, what's the word for it?
Stupidity.
She is validating what we all know about her judicial knowledge and expertise. That's all. And then at 7:35, Kurt Schlichter.
I'm going to go with stupidity.
Supreme Court arguments in a moment. But first, the gift that keeps on giving. I was very concerned, very worried, very, very worried about the Texas redistricting initiative that eliminated many Democrat seats there, as they did what has been done for, about 230 years in this country, which is politically gerrymander congressional districts to benefit the majority in the state. Yeah, I live with that in Maryland, being in Maryland, I think, is about 40% Republican, and yet we have 1 out of 8 of our congressional districts are Republican. In Massachusetts, it's 0. The way Massachusetts is represented, you would think that there are no Republicans in that state. They draw the lines to specifically do that. Republicans have been behind the game on this, and just now they're catching up. And in Texas, as you know, they redrew all of the lines to superpower the Republican representation, which is kind of appropriate because when was the last time they had a Democrat governor there? When was the last time that state voted Democrat in the Electoral College? I mean, it's just pretty clear. Now, long story short, I was very worried about this because the way the new lines were drawn, we were going to lose one of the most important voices in the House of Representatives, at least when it comes to this program and talk radio in general, and that, of course, was Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, she's the one that has the dead butterflies as fake eyelashes, She's the one she's the one who called Marjorie Taylor Greene back when they didn't like her. Now they love her. Didn't she call her a hoe of some sort? I believe
big body something.
Yeah,
commented on her CrossFit body or something.
That's right.
Yes,
she's always good for a soundbite, and she is she's kind of a hateful person, too.
Yes.
She's very angry. Anyway, the point is I was afraid that she was going to get districted out and we wouldn't have her around. But yesterday, she made all our dreams come true because she announced she is running for the United States Senate in Texas. She is joining this fight against incumbent John Cornyn, who has a primary fight of his own against Ken Paxton and possibly some other Republicans down there who are flirting with the idea of coming in. But so far, there are only 2 registered candidates, Cornyn and Paxton. Now, it's assumed that whoever emerges from that primary will win because it's a pretty highly Republican state. But here comes Jasmine Crockett. Take a listen to her announcement yesterday.
Well, I'm done with politics as usual. I'm done with going along to get along, and it gets us nowhere. I'm done watching rural hospitals and public schools close their doors. I'm done watching parents be afraid to send their kids to school or the mall or the movies because Republicans have flooded our streets with guns. I'm done with the senators sitting around doing nothing while Trump takes your hard-earned money, skims your Social Security, slashes Medicare, and gives tax breaks to billionaires. I'm done. I'm done watching the American dream on life support while Trump tries to pull the plug. The gloves have been off, and now I'm jumping into the ring. I'm asking for your support to be the next United States Senator from the greatest state of Texas.
I mean, she obviously has her finger on the pulse of Texans because it sounds like she's running on an anti-Second Amendment platform. I think she should also add, and why are we drilling for all this oil around here? And by the way, why are we eating steak? What's with all the beef? What is with that?
Well,
why do y'all like football? What is,
Larry, she's done.
She is done.
That is her biggest,
That's for sure.
The motivation of her running. She's done. I'm done. Okay.
All right. That's a good message.
Calm down.
But speaking of great messages, this is what her announcement video sounded like.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her?
She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
It goes on for a minute, and it's just a picture of her stoically sitting there taking all of this misogynist, racist abuse from Donald Trump.
Yes.
And it's just the voice of Donald Trump criticizing Jasmine Crockett, which, again, and everyone is saying it's so effective, it's so dramatic. Maybe, I don't know, that's a social media thing. And for the Democrat primary, that might work. But you think about it for a second. Imagine you're a Texan right now, and you find out Jasmine Crockett wants to be your senator, right? And you're like, okay, Jasmine Crockett, you want to be my senator? I'm willing to hear you out. What do you stand for? What are your ideas? What's going to be your priorities? Her entire announcement is Trump hates me.
Well, Larry, but I agree if they look at it that way. But for a certain segment of deranged anti-Trump individuals and voters, their life is about him. All of their problems are about Trump. Everything that's wrong in their life is because of Trump. You have an entire segment of this country, call it the Rosie O'Donnell segment of the society. They blame they've transformed their lives. They have, for goodness sake, Rosie left the country. Yeah. You have a group of truly sick people. They are so entrenched in Trump derangement syndrome. They see every problem they have as being Trump's fault. That this speaks to them. I think it's nuts, obviously, but these are often, I think this sort of is typical of these people who look for other things to blame. I'm not going to improve myself. Yeah. I'm not going to make better decisions. No, I'm going to blame this outside force. And that's Trump. Used to be the mother-in-laws, okay? Used to be all sorts of things, but now it's Trump. And so I think this actually speaks to them. You got Jay Jones here in Virginia, right? Yeah. The despicable things that he said about Republicans and about murdering people, right? And then, but because he wants Letitia James, she gets elected. She's an idiot. She gets New York. All those problems New York
Texas
has.
Is not New York.
I'm going to go after
Virginia.
Trump. I get it, but I'm just saying. I think her PR people might be a little bit too New York or Washington or whatever.
Texas,
I get it. I just think it works.
She'll get a lot of votes. She will, and she'll probably win the primary. She seems to have scared off Representative Allred, who recently ran against Ted Cruz and raised a lot of money. And he backed out of his race the day of the announcement because he could figure out where the wind was blowing. But this is all an exercise in narcissism, not just the narcissism rooted in anti-Trump derangement. Also, listen to this, cut 4, Jasmine Crockett. So why are you doing this? What's in it for Texans?
Especially in this moment. There are a lot of people that said, you got to stay in the house. We need our voice. We need you there.
Oh, God.
And I understand. But what we need is for me to have a bigger voice.
There we go. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Because we need me to have a bigger
Right.
voice. That's what
Right.
we need.
Yep.
Yeah. Listen, politics has become a major grift, and here's the deal. She was either going to lose her district, or it was going to suddenly become really hard for her to continue representing her district. She was going to have to actually work and be held accountable, and maybe even, put some effort into it so she could get reelected. And meanwhile, now she can run at the state level, and she's going to raise a ton of money. Her profile will be increased even more. And I guess what I'm saying is, after she loses here, she's going to do the Beto O'Rourke thing. She'll lose the Senate run and then immediately run for president.
That's exactly right.
Because there's money in it. There's Jasmine Crockett, and her book sales will be divine.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
We have a big update out of Loudoun County, Virginia. You remember that story of the boys who were suspended from school because they objected to a girl in their locker room. This is a girl, a trans-identifying young girl, who then took a cell phone, a smartphone, and made a video of the boys in their locker room. And we were told that they were bullying her and saying horrible things. And what they were saying was, why is there a girl? The bullying is that they called her a girl.
That's right.
And saying, I'm not comfortable with the girl in the locker room. Why is this girl in the locker room? And as you know, those boys have been suspended. Although, strangely, we still haven't gotten an answer for this. There were three boys. One of them was of Arab Muslim descent, I believe Arab, or maybe Indian Muslim descent. That boy was not suspended, but the 2 white Christian boys were. Well, we have an update on this story. This is Stony Bridge High School, by the way. The Justice Department is taking up the case.
Good.
Harmeet Dillon, the Deputy Attorney General for Civil Rights Division, has announced that students don't shed their First Amendment rights at the schoolhouse gate. Loudoun County's decision to advance and promote gender ideology tramples on the rights of religious students who cannot embrace ideas that deny biological reality.
Let me say, I'm thrilled Harmeet Dillon is taking this up. She's a hero, but it disgusts me that it has to come to this. Mm-hmm. That Loudoun County is so rotten. Loudoun County schools are so rotten that they have dug in. And they refuse to do what's morally correct and what makes sense. Separate these kids based on their biological sex. The idea, Larry, even 6 years ago, if you said that this was common now, it would be like, what? Wait, what? Boys walking into girls' rooms, girls walking into boys' rooms? Right. Stonebridge is also the location where a girl was raped. A boy walked into her bathroom and raped her. That was a very sort of newsworthy story several years ago. That family's still fighting for justice, the Smith family. But I'm so disgusted, again, that it has taken this action to get justice for these boys who've been through their families. One of the families actually has left the district because it became so painful for them. And they pulled their child out of that school and they relocated. It's absolutely despicable what Loudoun County school officials are doing.
Well, and now they're going to feel the brunt of the Justice Department on this, and we'll see how far they want to take it. The Loudoun County reaction is going to be to either withdraw their suspension of these boys and actually change their policies to better reflect, biological, moral, and ethical reality, as well as the law and Title IX and the federal government's mandates. They can do all of that, or they can do what I suspect they will do, which is continue to use taxpayer dollars out of Loudoun County to hire a very wealthy law firm, probably a firm that has some connection to one or many of the school board members, drain the county of their resources to fight this fight legally, end up losing this fight, and then, by the way, Loudoun County taxpayers will have to pay higher property taxes to make up for the deficit, and their school system will continue to suffer and not get the resources that it needs, and their focus won't be on educating your children. It'll be on fighting this fight. But Loudoun County is one of the wealthiest counties in America, and it's gotten bluer and bluer and woker, so they're gonna do that. They're gonna be happy with that, and they'll support their school board for doing it until they can't anymore. That's just a prediction. I could be wrong. Maybe reason will win out, but I doubt it. It's 5:53.